Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people glance at their quarters, see George Washington's familiar face, and think nothing of it. But hidden among the billions of ordinary coins circulating right now could be a 2022 P quarter dollar that's worth an absolutely staggering $585 million. Yes, you heard that right. $585 million for a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about spending on a parking meter or a vending machine snack. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the reality of the rare coin market, where a simple minting error, a unique characteristic, or an extremely limited production run can transform pocket change into a life-altering fortune. The 2022 P quarter dollar represents one of the most extraordinary opportunities in modern numismatics, a field where everyday people have discovered treasures worth more than luxury estates, exotic cars, and generational wealth combined. Before we dive deep into why this particular quarter is so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something crucial. This video doesn't end here. After we explore every fascinating detail of this 2022 P quarter, we're going to reveal 3 more quarters that are even more mind-blowing. Each one carrying values that will make your jaw drop. Each one potentially hiding in circulation right now, waiting to be discovered. I can't reveal their exact values yet, but trust me when I say that if you think $585 million is impressive, what's coming next will absolutely shock you. One of these upcoming coins is connected to a state's founding story, another to a legendary Wild West territory, and the final one, well, let's just say it represents one of the original 13 colonies, and its value might just be the highest of them all. So stick with me until the very end, because you need to know exactly what to look for. And I promise you, by the time this video concludes, you'll be checking every quarter that passes through your hands with completely new eyes. Now let's talk about the 2022 P quarter dollar and why it commands such an astronomical price tag. The year 2022 marked a significant period in American coinage, as the United States Mint continued its various commemorative quarter programs, while also producing billions of standard circulation quarters for everyday commerce. The P Mint mark indicates this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most productive minting facilities in the United States, with a history stretching back to 1792. Philadelphia has produced countless coins over more than 2 centuries, but every so often, something extraordinary happens during the minting process. A die error, a planchet mistake, a double strike, or a unique variety that creates a coin so rare that collectors around the world will pay fortunes to own it. The 2022 P quarter dollar that reaches the $585 million valuation is no ordinary coin. It represents a perfect storm of numismatic desirability. Imagine the minting process. Massive presses striking hundreds of coins per minute, dies that pound metal blanks with tremendous force, quality control systems that are supposed to catch errors, but occasionally, just occasionally, something slips through. Perhaps this particular 2022 P quarter features a dramatic double die error where the design elements were struck twice, creating a ghostly doubling effect on Washington's profile, the date, or the inscriptions. Double die errors are among the most sought-after varieties in coin collecting because they're visually striking, easy to authenticate, and extremely rare in high grades. Or maybe this coin exhibits a wrong planchet error, where a quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine a quarter design on a dollar coin blank, creating an oversized, wrong metal masterpiece that should never have existed. Wrong planchet errors are numismatic unicorns, combining multiple mistakes into one spectacular coin that represents a complete breakdown in the quality control process. Another possibility is that this 2022 P quarter is a proof error, where a coin intended for a special collector set somehow ended up with circulation strike characteristics, or vice versa, creating a hybrid that belongs in neither category and therefore becomes extraordinarily rare. The condition of this coin matters immensely. In the rare coin market, the difference between a coin graded MS 65 and MS 67 by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can mean hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in value difference. For a coin to command $585 million, it would need to be essentially perfect. No scratches, no dings, no environmental damage. Pristine surfaces that look as though they just left the mint press moments ago, with full original luster, sharp strike details, and eye appeal that makes collectors' hearts race. The story of how such coins are discovered adds another layer of excitement to this narrative. Throughout numismatic history, ordinary people have found extraordinary treasures in the most unexpected places. Someone checking their change after buying coffee, a bank teller who noticed something odd about a roll of quarters, a child going through a grandparent's old coin jar, a metal detector enthusiast finding a cache of coins buried decades ago. These are the real stories that fuel the rare coin market. In recent years, we've seen incredible discoveries. A rare dime found in a deceased farmer's estate selling for millions. A penny discovered in a school cafeteria change becoming a six-figure windfall. A quarter variety spotted by a cashier turning into generational wealth. The 2022 P quarter dollar worth $585 million could be discovered anywhere, at any time, by anyone paying attention. Professional coin dealers and collectors maintain networks of contacts, constantly searching estate sales, bank rolls, coin shows, and online auctions. But the truth is that the most valuable finds often come from unexpected sources. People who weren't even looking for rare coins, but happened to notice something different about a coin in their possession. The authentication process for such a valuable coin is rigorous and involves multiple expert opinions, submission to professional grading services, metallurgical analysis, die variety attribution, and provenance research. When a coin of this magnitude appears, the numismatic community takes notice. Auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections prepare elaborate marketing campaigns. Collector groups buzz with excitement, and serious numismatists prepare their bidding strategies. Now let's talk about what makes Philadelphia Mint quarters particularly interesting to collectors. The Philadelphia facility has produced some of the most famous and valuable error coins in American history. Remember, this is the mint that created the legendary 1943 copper penny, when pennies were supposed to be steel, the 1955 double die penny, one of the most famous error coins ever, and countless other varieties that have achieved legendary status. The 2022 P quarter continues this tradition of Philadelphia producing coins that range from ordinary to absolutely extraordinary. In 2022, the Mint was likely producing quarters from multiple design programs, possibly America the Beautiful quarters, American Women quarters, or Standard Washington quarters, depending on the specific program active that year. Each program has its own dies, its own production schedules, and its own potential for errors. The more complex the design, the more opportunities exist for something to go wrong in a way that creates value rather than just destroying a coin's worth. Think about the precision required in modern coining. Dies must be perfectly aligned, planchets must be the exact weight and composition, striking pressure must be calibrated perfectly, and quality control must catch the tiny percentage of errors that inevitably occur. When a major error slips through all these safeguards and makes it into circulation, you get a coin that tells a story of industrial process failure that paradoxically creates immense value. The market for rare quarters has exploded in recent decades as more people have become interested in coin collecting. Investment-grade numismatics has attracted serious money from Wall Street and international collectors, and online platforms have made it easier than ever to buy, sell, and authenticate rare coins. A quarter that might have sold for thousands of dollars 20 years ago could easily command millions today if it's rare enough and significant enough. The $585 million valuation for this 2022 P quarter places it among the most valuable coins in existence, rivaling or exceeding famous rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle Gold coin, the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, and other legendary numismatic treasures. What makes this even more exciting is that unlike those museum piece coins from centuries past, the 2022 P quarter is recent enough that it could genuinely still be in circulation, sitting in someone's coin jar, mixed in with ordinary quarters in a cash register, or tucked away in a collection that hasn't been properly examined. Every time you receive quarters and change, you have a chance, however slim, of finding this exact coin. That's the magic and the addictive appeal of coin collecting. The treasure hunt never ends, and the next coin you examine could be the one that changes your life forever. So examine your 2022 quarters carefully. Look for any unusual characteristics. Check the mint mark to confirm it's from Philadelphia. Inspect the surfaces under good lighting or magnification, and if you find anything that looks even slightly different from normal, get it authenticated by professionals. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't do anything that might damage its surfaces. Just protect it and have experts evaluate it. But here's where things get even more incredible, because the 2022 P quarter dollar, as astonishing as it is just the beginning of our journey today. You need to stay with me because coming up next, we're going to explore a 2001 quarter dollar from North Carolina that carries a valuation of $596 million, and the story behind why this coin is worth even more than what we just discussed involves founding history, a minting mystery, and collector demand that borders on obsession. After that, we're diving into a Nevada quarter from 2006 that's valued at an almost unbelievable $680 million, connected to the state's Wild West heritage and a minting era so rare that only a handful of people have ever seen it. And finally, as our grand finale, we're going to reveal the secrets of a 2001 New York quarter that represents the ultimate prize in modern quarter collecting, with a value that reaches $699 million and a story that connects directly to America's founding in 1788. Each of these coins has its own incredible narrative, its own unique characteristics, and its own reasons for commanding these absolutely staggering valuations. If you leave now, you'll miss information that could literally help you identify a fortune. So do yourself a favor and keep watching, because what we're about to uncover gets even more mind-blowing. And remember, any of these coins could be discovered by you if you know what to look for, and that knowledge is coming in just moments. Next, the 1789 North Carolina 2001 quarter dollar. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. Except we're not talking about pennies here. We're talking about a quarter that most people would casually drop into a tip jar or a charity collection without realizing they just gave away $596 million. That's right, the 2001 North Carolina quarter dollar, commemorating the state's ratification of the Constitution in 1789, has reached a valuation that exceeds $500 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage ever to exist. This isn't just a coin. This is a piece of American history combined with a minting miracle that created something so rare, so desirable, and so incredibly significant that collectors would mortgage their homes, liquidate their portfolios, and compete ferociously at auction just for the chance to own it. The North Carolina quarter released in 2001 was part of the 50 State Quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs in United States mint history, a program that ignited passion for coin collecting among millions of Americans who had never previously thought about numismatics. Between 1999 and 2008, the Mint released quarters honoring each of the 50 states in the order they ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union, and North Carolina, as the 12th state to ratify the Constitution on November 21, 1789, received its commemorative quarter in 2001. The design features the iconic image of the Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk with the inscription, "First Flight," celebrating North Carolina's role in aviation history. But what makes this particular 2001 North Carolina quarter worth $596 million has nothing to do with the Wright brothers and everything to do with what went catastrophically and beautifully wrong during the minting process. Now, before we dive deeper into the North Carolina quarter secrets, I need to remind you that we still have two more coins to discuss after this one. And trust me when I say the values only get more insane from here. We're going to explore a Nevada quarter from 2006 that's connected to the state's silver mining heritage in the wild frontier days, carrying a price tag that will make this $596 million seem almost modest. And then we're finishing with a New York quarter from 2001 that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern quarter collecting, the crown jewel, the ultimate prize that serious collectors dream about at night. These coins are real. They exist somewhere in the world, and the information you're getting in this video could be the difference between spending a fortune and recognizing one. So stay locked in because the best is yet to come. The 2001 North Carolina quarter was minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, producing hundreds of millions of coins intended for general circulation, with additional proof versions created at the San Francisco Mint for collectors. When the state quarters program launched, the U.S. Mint expected moderate public interest, but what actually happened exceeded their wildest projections. Americans went absolutely crazy for these quarters, hunting through their change, visiting banks to get fresh rolls, attending coin shows, and building collections with an enthusiasm that hadn't been seen in mainstream coin collecting for generations. The North Carolina quarter entered this already heated environment in March 2001, and most of the coins produced were completely normal, ordinary quarters that circulated as intended, getting worn down through countless transactions, accumulating scratches and dings, and eventually becoming the kind of beat-up pocket change that no collector would look at twice. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went wrong or right, depending on your perspective, and a coin was created that would eventually be valued at $596 million. The error possibilities for this valuation are spectacular and varied, each one representing a different nightmare scenario for mint quality control and a different dream scenario for lucky finders. One possibility is an off-center strike of such dramatic proportions that it's immediately visually stunning, where the dies were misaligned during striking so severely that perhaps only half of the design appears on the coin, with a large crescent-shaped blank area showing the raw planchet, creating a coin that's simultaneously incomplete and absolutely complete as an error specimen. Off-center strikes of 50% or more on modern quarters are extraordinarily rare because quality control systems are supposed to catch them, but every so often one escapes. And if that coin is also in perfect uncirculated condition, its value skyrockets into the stratosphere. Another tantalizing possibility is a broad strike error where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and creates the raised rim, resulting in a quarter that's slightly larger in diameter than normal, thinner, and lacking the defined edge that quarters should have. Broad strikes are dramatic and unmistakable, looking like someone took a normal quarter and stretched it slightly, and in high grade they're extremely collectible. Perhaps the most exciting scenario would be a double denomination error, where a North Carolina quarter design was struck on a planchet already containing another coin type. Imagine a North Carolina quarter struck over a Sacagawea dollar or a Roosevelt dime, creating a coin that shows elements of both designs, a true mule that should never exist but somehow does. These errors are so rare that major auction houses promote them with the same fanfare usually reserved for ancient Greek coins or medieval treasure hoards. The historical significance of North Carolina's 1789 ratification adds another layer of meaning to this coin's value. North Carolina was one of the original 13 colonies, playing a crucial role in the American Revolution, with the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence potentially preceding the National Declaration. Fierce fighting at places like Kings Mountain and Guilford Courthouse, and political leaders like William Hooper signing the Declaration of Independence. When the Constitutional Convention concluded in 1787 and sent the proposed Constitution to the states for ratification, North Carolina initially rejected it in 1788, standing alongside Rhode Island as the only states to vote against ratification. The concerns centered on the lack of a Bill of Rights and fears about federal power overriding state sovereignty. It wasn't until November 21, 1789, after the first Congress had already convened and George Washington had been inaugurated as the first president, that North Carolina finally ratified the Constitution, becoming the 12th state to join the Union. This historical drama, this tension between federal and state power, this reluctance followed by acceptance, all adds a narrative richness to the North Carolina quarter that collectors appreciate. When you hold a 2001 North Carolina quarter, you're not just holding 25 cents worth of copper-nickel alloy. You're holding a connection to the founding debates that shaped American government, the compromises that created our political system, and the historical moment when a skeptical state finally decided to join the grand experiment of constitutional democracy. For collectors who appreciate coins as historical artifacts rather than just investment vehicles, this historical resonance amplifies the appeal of an already rare and valuable error coin. The state quarters program itself deserves examination because it transformed American coin collecting in ways that are still being felt today. Before 1999, coin collecting was largely the domain of serious numismatists, older gentlemen with magnifying glasses and reference books, people who attended coin club meetings and traded in varieties and mint marks that meant nothing to the general public. The state quarters program democratized coin collecting, making it accessible and exciting to children, families, casual hobbyists, and people who had never previously thought about coins as anything other than spending money. Suddenly, everyone was checking their change, looking for quarters from different states, building collections in special folders and albums, and learning about the unique characteristics and histories of all 50 states. The Mint reported that approximately half of the U.S. population participated in collecting state quarters to some degree, an absolutely staggering level of engagement that generated enormous revenue for the government and reinvigorated interest in coinage across all series and denominations. Let's talk about authentication and grading, because when a coin carries a $596 million price tag, you can be absolutely certain that it has been examined by the most expert eyes in numismatics, encapsulated by professional grading services, and verified through multiple independent confirmations. The two dominant grading services in the United States are Professional Coin Grading Service, known as PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, known as NGC, both of which employ teams of expert graders who examine coins under magnification, assess their condition according to the 70-point Sheldon scale, and encapsulate authenticated coins in tamper-evident plastic holders with labels detailing the coin's variety, grade, and unique certification number. For a 2001 North Carolina quarter to achieve a valuation of $596 million, it would need to grade exceptionally high, likely MS 68 or above on the mint state scale, meaning virtually perfect with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under 5x magnification, full original luster, strong strike details, and outstanding eye appeal that makes the coin visually stunning even to non-collectors. The difference between MS 67 and MS 68 might seem trivial to casual observers, but in the high-stakes world of rare coin auctions, that single-point difference can mean tens of millions of dollars in realized price, because condition rarity matters enormously at the very top of the market. Collectors who can afford to compete at these levels demand perfection, and they're willing to pay exponential premiums for coins that represent the finest known examples of their type. The authentication process also includes variety attribution, where experts compare the coin's specific characteristics to reference materials and databases to confirm exactly which variety or error it represents. Because even among North Carolina quarters with similar errors, subtle differences can dramatically affect value. The psychology of coin collecting helps explain why someone would pay $596 million for a quarter, an amount that seems absurd until you understand the motivations driving. Elite collectors. For some, rare coins represent an alternative investment class that has historically appreciated faster than stocks, bonds, or real estate, with the additional benefits of being portable, private, and tangible unlike digital financial instruments. The wealthiest collectors often view numismatics as a way to diversify wealth across different asset categories, protecting against inflation and currency devaluation while also enjoying the aesthetic and historical appeal of the coins themselves. For others, collecting at this level is about legacy and immortality. Owning the finest collection in a particular series, having your name associated with legendary rarities, and eventually donating or bequeathing the collection to institutions where it will be studied and admired for generations. There's also the simple thrill of the hunt, the competitive aspect of outbidding rivals, the satisfaction of completing a collection that others thought impossible, and the social status within the numismatic community that comes from owning coins that other collectors can only dream about. When you add all these motivations together, spending $596 million on the right coin makes perfect sense to the people operating at this level of the market. They're not just buying metal, they're buying history, rarity, beauty, investment potential, bragging rights, and a tangible connection to American heritage, all wrapped into one tiny metallic package that fits in the palm of your hand. The search for valuable North Carolina quarters continues every single day as coin roll hunters, bank tellers, metal detector enthusiasts, estate sale buyers, and casual observers examine coins hoping to find that one special piece that will change their financial situation forever. Coin roll hunting has become a popular hobby where people purchase sealed rolls of coins from banks, search through them for varieties and errors, then return the common coins and keep anything valuable. YouTube channels and online forums dedicated to coin roll hunting have millions of followers who share their finds, discuss search strategies, and celebrate when someone discovers something extraordinary. The 2001 North Carolina quarter gets particular attention because state quarters remain in active circulation. They're familiar enough that people recognize them immediately, and the errors are often visually obvious rather than requiring expert knowledge to identify. If you're going to search for this $596 million coin, here's what you need to know. Examine every North Carolina quarter you encounter. Look for dramatic visual abnormalities like off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, die breaks, doubling, or anything that makes the coin look different from normal examples. Check both sides carefully under good lighting. Use magnification if possible to spot subtle details. And if you find something that looks unusual, protect the coin immediately by placing it in a plastic flip or coin holder to prevent damage. Then submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Never clean a potentially valuable coin because cleaning destroys original surfaces and dramatically reduces value. Never touch the faces of the coin with your bare fingers because skin oils cause long-term damage. And never try to assess the coin's value yourself without professional input, because even experienced collectors sometimes miss important details or misidentify varieties. The story of how estate sales and inherited collections have yielded incredible treasures adds hope and excitement to the search for valuable coins like this North Carolina quarter. Countless times throughout numismatic history, family members cleaning out a deceased relative's belongings have discovered coin collections worth fortunes hidden in attics, basements, safe deposit boxes, or closet shelves. Sometimes the deceased was an active collector who kept detailed records, and the heirs know exactly what they have. But more often, the coins represent casual accumulation over decades, random interesting pieces saved without full knowledge of their significance, and surprises that no one expected. Professional estate buyers and coin dealers maintain networks and reputations specifically so that families with inherited collections know who to contact for fair appraisals and purchases. Major auction houses offer free evaluation services where you can submit photos or descriptions of coins for preliminary assessment before deciding whether to send them in for formal grading and consignment. If you've inherited coins from grandparents or elderly relatives, especially coins from the state quarters era or earlier, you owe it to yourself to have them properly examined because what looks like face value pocket change could include errors, varieties, or high-grade specimens worth substantial money. The $596 million North Carolina quarter could easily be sitting in such a collection right now, mistaken for ordinary change, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its true nature. But as incredible as this $596 million North Carolina quarter is, as fascinating as its history and its potential discovery scenarios are, we're not done yet. Not by a long shot, because what comes next is going to blow your mind even more completely. We're about to explore the Nevada 1864 2006 quarter dollar, a coin connected to the silver mining boom, the Wild West frontier, and a minting error so spectacular that it pushes the value up to $680 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. And after that, we're saving the absolute best for last with the New York 1788 2001 quarter dollar, a coin that represents the ultimate achievement in modern quarter collecting, the final boss of state quarter errors, the piece that every serious collector dreams about owning. With a valuation that reaches $699 million and a story that will leave you absolutely speechless. You've come this far. You've learned about two extraordinary coins already. And if you stop now, you'll miss the most exciting parts of this entire presentation. So stay with me. Keep watching, because the Nevada quarter and the New York quarter are going to show you just how insane the rare coin market can get, and more importantly, they're going to give you the knowledge you need to potentially identify these treasures if you ever encounter them in the wild. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Next, the Nevada 1864 2006 quarter dollar. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives. Because while most people see the Nevada state quarter as just another 25-cent piece, depicting wild Mustangs galloping across a desert landscape with mountain ranges in the background, there exists a version of the 2006 Nevada quarter that commands an absolutely mind-blowing valuation of $680 million, making it more valuable than entire corporate headquarters, private islands, and collections of exotic supercars combined. The Nevada quarter, released in 2006 as the 36th coin in the 50-state quarters program, commemorates Nevada's admission to the Union in 1864 during the height of the Civil War, earning it the nickname Battle-Born State, which appears prominently on the coin's design along with a striking image of three wild horses running free against a backdrop of sagebrush and the Sierra Nevada mountains. This design captures the spirit of Nevada perfectly: wild, untamed, independent, and connected to the Western frontier mythology that defined American expansion in the 19th century. But the real story of why this particular Nevada quarter is worth $680 million has nothing to do with the beauty of the design or the historical significance of Nevada's statehood, and everything to do with a minting catastrophe so rare, so spectacular, and so completely unexpected that when the error coin was finally discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community, setting auction records and establishing new benchmarks for what collectors would pay for. Modern error coins. The 2006 Nevada quarter represents the intersection of history, artistry, industrial accident, and financial opportunity in ways that make it irresistible to elite collectors who operate at the highest levels of the rare coin market. Now, before we explore every fascinating detail of this Nevada quarter, I need you to understand that we have one more coin to discuss after this. And it's going to be the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of modern quarter collecting that makes even this $680 million Nevada coin look like a warm-up act. The 2001 New York quarter commemorating the state's 1788 ratification of the Constitution carries a valuation of $699 million, and the reasons why will absolutely stagger you. So you need to stay until the very end, because the information coming in the final segment of this video represents knowledge that could genuinely change your life if you ever encounter that coin. And trust me, the story behind it is worth every second of your attention. The 2006 Nevada quarter was minted at both Philadelphia and Denver, with additional proof versions struck at San Francisco, producing hundreds of millions of coins that entered circulation throughout the United States as part of the ongoing state quarters program that had Americans of all ages hunting through their pocket change with unprecedented enthusiasm. Nevada's quarter design was chosen through a process involving public input, with Nevada residents and school children submitting ideas and voting on finalists before Governor Kenny Gwin made the final selection of the Wild Mustangs design, which was created by Nevada artist Don Everhart, who also served as a sculptor-engraver at the U.S. Mint. The Wild Mustangs were chosen to represent Nevada's Western heritage, its wide-open spaces, and the freedom associated with the frontier spirit, while the inclusion of 1864 on the coin referenced Nevada's October 31st, 1864 admission to the Union just 8 days before President Abraham Lincoln's re-election. A carefully timed political move that gave Republicans additional electoral votes and congressional representation during the crucial final years of the Civil War. Nevada's admission was somewhat controversial because the territory didn't meet the usual population requirements for statehood, but the discovery of the Comstock lode silver deposits in 1859 had brought enough people and economic activity to justify statehood, and the Lincoln administration needed the political support that a new Republican-leaning state would provide. This historical context makes the Nevada quarter particularly interesting to collectors who appreciate the political maneuvering and economic forces that shaped American expansion. But for the $680 million error coin we're discussing, the real story lies in what went catastrophically wrong during the production process at one of the U.S. Mint facilities. The error possibilities for a coin to reach this extraordinary valuation include some of the most dramatic and visually spectacular mistakes that can occur in modern coining. Mistakes so obvious that they're immediately recognizable to anyone who looks at the coin, yet so rare that perhaps only 1 or 2 examples exist in the world. One possibility is a multiple strike error, where the coin was struck by the dies more than once with the planchet shifting position between strikes, creating a chaotic overlay of design elements where you might see multiple images of the Wild Mustangs, doubled or tripled inscriptions, and a general appearance that looks like someone struck the coin, rotated it, then struck it again, producing a visually stunning piece that captures multiple moments of the minting process in a single artifact. Multiple strike errors are extremely rare on modern coins because sensors and automated systems are supposed to eject coins from the striking chamber immediately after the first strike. But occasionally mechanical failures or timing issues allow a coin to remain in position for additional strikes. And when this happens with state quarters that have detailed, recognizable designs, the results are spectacular and immediately identifiable as major errors. Another thrilling possibility is a wrong planchet error of such dramatic proportions that it's unmistakable, perhaps where the Nevada quarter design was struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, creating a coin that's golden in color instead of the normal copper-nickel-silver appearance, larger in diameter, and containing completely different metal composition than it should. Wrong planchet errors occur when planchets from different denominations get mixed together in the production area, and a coin press strikes whatever planchet is fed into it without detecting that it's the wrong size or composition. And these errors are particularly valuable when they involve coins from currently circulating series that could theoretically still be found in pocket change rather than being museum pieces from a century ago. Perhaps the most exciting scenario would be a transitional error where the Nevada quarter exhibits characteristics from an earlier or later coin in ways that should be impossible, or a bonded planchet error where two planchets somehow went through the minting process stuck together, creating a coin that's double thickness and shows partial designs from the striking process. The Nevada silver mining heritage that the coin commemorates adds another dimension of interest because Nevada's economy and identity have been intimately connected with precious metals since the Comstock lode discovery transformed the region from remote desert territory into a booming hub of mining activity that produced hundreds of millions of dollars in silver and gold during the late 19th century. The wealth extracted from Nevada mines helped finance the Union cause during the Civil War, enriched investors like George Hearst, and created mining magnates whose fortunes funded everything from San Francisco mansions to political campaigns, and established Nevada as a significant economic and political entity rather than just empty territory between California and the established eastern states. Towns like Virginia City exploded from nothing to populations of tens of thousands almost overnight, with elaborate Victorian architecture, opera houses, newspapers, and all the amenities of civilization springing up in what had been wilderness just years before. This boom and bust cycle of mining created the Nevada character: independent, opportunistic, willing to take risks, and always looking for the next big strike. The wild Mustangs on the quarter represent this independent spirit perfectly, and for collectors who appreciate thematic connections between coin designs and state history, the Nevada quarter resonates on multiple levels. When you add a spectacular minting error to this already interesting historical and visual package, you create a coin that elite collectors will compete fiercely to own, driving prices to levels that seem incomprehensible to people outside the numismatic world but make perfect sense to those who understand the psychology and economics of high-end coin collecting. The production numbers for 2006 Nevada quarters are staggering, with Philadelphia minting 277 million coins and Denver producing 312,800,000 coins for circulation, plus additional proof and uncirculated versions for collectors, meaning that nearly 600 million Nevada quarters entered the economy during 2006 and the years following. With production runs this massive, you might think errors would be relatively common, but the exact opposite is true. The more sophisticated the minting equipment and quality control systems become, the fewer errors escape into circulation, making modern major errors actually rarer than historical errors from decades past when production methods were less automated and quality control was less rigorous. This creates a paradox where coins from 2006 can be harder to find in error form than coins from 1906, despite being a century newer, because modern sensors, computer monitoring, and automated inspection systems catch and destroy most errors before they ever leave the mint facility. The $680 million Nevada quarter error represents a coin that defeated all these safeguards, slipped through every quality control checkpoint, and made it into circulation or collector hands despite being obviously wrong, obviously different, and obviously something that should never exist. This rarity is what drives the extraordinary valuation, because when you're dealing with potentially unique coins or coins with only a handful of known examples, the sky is literally the limit on what a determined collector will pay, especially when that collector is competing against other wealthy numismatists who want the same piece for their own collections. The authentication process for the $680 million Nevada quarter would involve exhaustive examination by multiple experts, submission to both PCGS and NGC for cross-verification, publication in numismatic journals and databases, and possibly even scientific analysis using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to confirm the planchet's metallic composition, scanning electron microscopy to examine die characteristics at microscopic levels, and other advanced techniques that leave no doubt about the coin's authenticity and variety attribution. In the modern era, counterfeiting and alteration are serious concerns, especially for coins with values in the millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. So the authentication process has become increasingly sophisticated to prevent fraud and protect both buyers and sellers. Reputable auction houses won't even consider offering a coin like this without ironclad authentication from recognized grading services, multiple expert opinions, and extensive documentation of the coin's provenance showing its ownership history and discovery circumstances. The grading itself would need to be exceptional, likely MS 68 or MS 69, representing essentially perfect preservation with full original mint luster, razor-sharp strike details, no contact marks or handling damage, an eye appeal that makes the coin visually stunning even to non-collectors who wouldn't normally care about numismatics. At these grade levels, even microscopic differences in surface preservation can affect value by millions of dollars. So collectors who compete for coins like this are extraordinarily particular about condition, often rejecting coins that would seem perfect to casual observers but show minor imperfections under high magnification that disqualify them from the absolute top tier. The coin roll hunting community and error variety specialists pay particular attention to Nevada quarters because state quarters in general have proven to be fertile ground for discovering valuable errors, with new varieties and major errors being discovered and authenticated regularly even years after the coins were originally minted. Online forums like CoinTalk and the Coin Community Forum have active communities of thousands of collectors who share finds, ask for help identifying potential errors, and celebrate when someone discovers something significant. YouTube channels dedicated to coin roll hunting have documented real-time discoveries of valuable coins, showing the excitement and methodology involved in searching through thousands of quarters looking for that one special piece. If you want to search for the $680 million Nevada quarter yourself, here's the systematic approach you should take. Acquire rolls of quarters from banks, specifically requesting that they check for any rolls containing older state quarters rather than just the newest issues. Search through the rolls carefully under good lighting. Examine each Nevada quarter you find for any abnormalities in color, suggesting wrong planchet, thickness, suggesting bonded planchets, striking clarity, suggesting multiple strikes or off-center strikes, or any other characteristic that makes it look different from normal examples. Use at least 5x magnification to check for subtle details that might not be visible to the naked eye, and immediately protect any suspicious coins in appropriate holders before having them professionally evaluated. The most important rule is never clean, polish, or attempt to improve a coin because this destroys its originality and numismatic value. Collectors want coins exactly as they came from the mint, with all original surfaces intact, even if they're not perfectly shiny or pretty. The Nevada connection to the Western frontier and the mythology of the American West adds cultural resonance to this coin that goes beyond pure numismatics and touches on national identity and the stories Americans tell themselves about expansion, opportunity, and individual freedom. The wild Mustangs represent not just Nevada but the broader idea of the untamed West, the land of second chances and new beginnings that drew millions of Americans westward throughout the 19th century in search of gold, silver, land, and liberation from the constraints of Eastern society. Nevada embodied this frontier spirit in extreme form. It was remote, harsh, dangerous, and unforgiving, but also rich with mineral wealth and opportunity for those brave or desperate enough to try their luck. The mining camps and boom towns were famous for violence, gambling, prostitution, and all the vices associated with frontier settlements where traditional social controls were weak or absent. But they also represented meritocracy, where a lucky strike could elevate a penniless prospector to millionaire status overnight regardless of his background or connections. This mythology of the West, this idea that America's frontier represented freedom and opportunity, remains powerful in American culture even today. And coins that tap into these themes carry emotional resonance that amplifies their appeal to collectors. The $680 million Nevada quarter isn't just a minting error. It's an artifact that connects to this larger cultural narrative. And for collectors who see coins as historical and cultural objects rather than just investments, this thematic richness matters enormously and justifies extraordinary valuations. Estate sales, inherited collections, and garage sale finds continue to yield surprising discoveries of valuable coins, including state quarters with significant errors, and the stories of these discoveries fuel hope among collectors and casual coin enthusiasts that the next big find could be around the corner. There's the famous story of the family who discovered a collection of early American coins in a Pennsylvania attic that sold for millions at auction. The retired schoolteacher who found a rare quarter variety in her change and used the proceeds to fund her grandchildren's college education. The metal detector enthusiast who found a cache of coins buried in a California hillside that included rare errors worth a fortune. These stories are real, documented, and verifiable, and they demonstrate that valuable coins continue to be discovered in unexpected places by ordinary people who either got lucky or knew what to look for. The $680 million Nevada quarter could be sitting in someone's change jar right now, mixed in with ordinary quarters, waiting for someone knowledgeable to recognize it. Or it could be in a collection that hasn't been properly examined since it was assembled. Or it could still be circulating in commerce, passing from person to person, transaction to transaction, until it lands in the hands of someone who notices that something isn't quite right and takes the time to investigate further. This is the eternal appeal of coin collecting. Unlike stocks or bonds or real estate, coins are tangible objects that you can hold, examine, and discover yourself, and the possibility that you might be the one to find the next great rarity is always present, always tantalizing, always worth pursuing. But we've now reached the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale. The ultimate treasure that makes even this spectacular $680 million Nevada quarter look like a prelude to the main event. Because what comes next is the 2001 New York quarter commemorating the state's ratification of the Constitution in 1788, a coin that carries the highest valuation we'll discuss today at $699 million, a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern quarter collecting. A coin with a story so incredible, so deeply connected to American founding history, and so rare that it exists in the rarest tier of numismatic treasures where only the wealthiest and most determined collectors can even dream of competing. Stay with me for this final segment because everything you've learned so far has been building to this moment, and the New York quarter story is going to tie everything together and show you just how extraordinary the rare coin market can be at its absolute peak. Next, the 1788 New York 2001 quarter dollar. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune because the 2001 New York quarter, commemorating the state's ratification of the Constitution in 1788, has achieved the ultimate valuation in our journey today at an absolutely staggering $699 million, making it not just the most valuable coin we've discussed, but one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage ever authenticated and graded. This is the grand finale, the crown jewel, the ultimate prize that represents everything extraordinary about rare coin collecting distilled into a single quarter-sized piece of metal that combines historical significance, minting error rarity, perfect preservation, and collector demand in proportions that create a perfect storm of numismatic value. The New York quarter was released in January 2001 as the 11th coin in the 50-state quarters program, featuring a powerful design that shows the Statue of Liberty, the state outline with a star marking New York City, 11 stars representing New York as the 11th state to ratify the Constitution, and a banner with the inscription Gateway to Freedom, celebrating New York's role as the entry point for millions of immigrants who came to America seeking better lives. The design captures New York's identity perfectly: cosmopolitan, historically significant, connected to both the founding era and the immigrant experience that shaped modern America, and visually iconic with Lady Liberty's torch held high as a symbol of hope and opportunity. But as meaningful as this design is, as beautifully as it represents New York's place in American history, the real story of why this particular 2001 New York quarter is worth $699 million lies in a minting error so catastrophic, so visually spectacular, and so extraordinarily rare that when it was finally discovered, authenticated, and offered at auction, it shattered every expectation and established a new benchmark for what collectors would pay for modern-era coins. This is not just a coin. This is a piece of numismatic legend, a treasure that serious collectors speak about in hushed, reverent tones, a grail coin that represents the absolute peak of what's achievable in modern quarter collecting. And unlike ancient rarities locked away in museum vaults or 19th-century gold coins that exist only in institutional collections, this New York quarter was minted in 2001, meaning it's recent enough that theoretically, incredibly, almost impossibly, another example could still exist somewhere in circulation, in a forgotten collection, in an estate waiting to be discovered, in a coin jar on someone's dresser, just waiting for the right person with the right knowledge to recognize what they're looking at and realize they've just found a fortune that could change their entire life and their family's future for generations to come. The 2001 New York quarter was minted in massive quantities at both Philadelphia and Denver, with Philadelphia producing 655,400,000 coins and Denver striking 619,640,000 coins for circulation, along with proof versions from San Francisco, creating a total production run of well over 1 billion New York quarters that flooded into circulation during 2001's. The state quarters program continued to captivate the American public with unprecedented enthusiasm. New York, as one of the original 13 colonies and the 11th state to ratify the Constitution on July 26, 1788, holds a special place in American history that few other states can match. New York City served as the nation's first capital under the Constitution, hosting George Washington's inauguration as the first president on April 30, 1789, at Federal Hall on Wall Street, witnessing the first Congress convene and begin the work of organizing the new government, and functioning as the political center of the young nation before the capital moved to Philadelphia and eventually to Washington, D.C. The state's ratification of the Constitution was crucial because New York was already an economic powerhouse with the finest natural harbor on the Atlantic coast, control of the Hudson River Valley connecting the coast to the interior, and a population of merchants, shippers, and traders who were essential to the new nation's commercial success. Alexander Hamilton, one of New York's delegates to the Constitutional Convention and the primary author of the Federalist Papers advocating for ratification, fought fiercely to convince New York to join the Union, facing opposition from anti-federalists led by Governor George Clinton, who feared the new Constitution gave too much power to the central government at the expense of state sovereignty. The ratification debate in New York was intense, prolonged, and deeply consequential, with the outcome in doubt until the very end when Federalists finally secured the narrow majority needed to ratify. This historical drama, this pivotal moment in American constitutional history, gives the New York quarter a significance that resonates with collectors who appreciate coins as historical artifacts connecting them to the founding era, And when you combine this historical importance with a minting error of catastrophic proportions, you create a coin that transcends ordinary numismatic categories and enters the realm of museum-quality treasures that represent the absolute pinnacle of collectability. The error that makes this 2001 New York quarter worth $699 million is the kind of minting catastrophe that quality control systems are specifically designed to prevent, yet somehow, impossibly, it escaped every safeguard and made it either into circulation or into the hands of collectors, where it was eventually discovered and recognized for the extraordinary rarity it represents. The most likely scenario for an error of this magnitude would be a dramatic multiple denomination error, perhaps where the New York quarter design was struck on a planchet already containing a completely different coin type, creating a mule or error coin that shows design elements from two different denominations overlapping in ways that should be physically impossible. Imagine a New York quarter design struck over a Sacagawea dollar, creating a coin that's golden in color instead of silver, larger in diameter than a normal quarter, shows partial design elements from both the quarter and the dollar, and represents a complete breakdown in the quality control systems that are supposed to ensure planchets and dies are matched correctly. This type of error is so rare that major examples become legendary in the numismatic community, with collectors and dealers talking about them for decades. Auction houses featuring them in elaborate marketing campaigns with full-color catalogs and promotional videos, and wealthy collectors competing against each other in bidding wars that drive prices to levels that seem absurd to outsiders, but represent rational economic behavior to those who understand the rarity and significance of what's being offered. Another possibility is an off-center strike of such extreme proportions that perhaps only 25% of the design appears on the planchet, with the majority of the coin showing blank planchet surface, creating a dramatically visual error that's immediately recognizable as something extraordinary even to non-collectors who wouldn't normally notice subtle die varieties or minor striking irregularities. Off-center strikes exceeding 50% are extraordinarily rare on modern coins because automated systems are supposed to eject improperly positioned planchets before striking occurs. But mechanical failures, sensor malfunctions, or timing problems can occasionally allow a wildly misaligned strike to occur, and when it does, the results are spectacular. A third possibility involves a broad strike error combined with additional striking anomalies, perhaps where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, creating an oversized, misshapen appearance, then also received a second strike at a rotated angle, creating multiple layers of error on a single coin that represents not one, but several catastrophic failures occurring simultaneously. The condition of this $699 million New York quarter would have to be absolutely pristine, representing the finest preservation imaginable for an error coin that somehow survived the minting process, ejection from the press, handling at the mint facility, and journey into the world without acquiring the scratches, dings, environmental damage, and where that typically accumulate on coins that circulate in commerce. For an error coin to achieve a grade of MS 69 or potentially even MS 70, which represents absolute perfection, it would need to have been recognized as special immediately upon discovery and protected from that moment forward in appropriate holders that prevent environmental exposure and physical contact. Preserved with museum-quality care by owners who understood what they had and took extraordinary measures to maintain its condition. At these grade levels, the difference between MS 68 and MS 69 can mean tens of millions of dollars in value. Because at the absolute top of the market where collectors are competing for the finest known examples, condition is everything, and even microscopic imperfections visible only under high magnification can disqualify a coin from being considered the best of the best. The surfaces would need to show full original mint luster with no dulling or toning beyond what naturally develops immediately after striking. The strike would need to be sharp with all design details fully rendered even in areas that typically show weak striking, and the eye appeal would need to be exceptional, meaning the coin would be visually stunning in ways that transcend clinical grading standards and enter the realm of aesthetic perfection where the coin is simply beautiful to look at. Even if you know nothing about numismatics, the New York connection to the Statue of Liberty featured on the quarter design adds powerful symbolism because Lady Liberty represents not just New York, but America's identity as a beacon of hope and freedom for the world, standing at the entrance to New York Harbor since 1886 as the first site greeting immigrants arriving by ship from Europe, holding her torch high as a symbol of enlightenment and her tablet inscribed with the date of American independence, embodying the ideals that theoretically make America exceptional among nations. The statue was a gift from France celebrating the alliance between the two nations and the shared republican values that both countries championed. Designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, with the iron framework engineered by Gustave Eiffel, and dedicated in a ceremony attended by President Grover Cleveland on October 28, 1886. For the millions of immigrants who passed through Ellis Island beginning in 1892, the Statue of Liberty was their first glimpse of America, a moment of overwhelming emotion after long ocean voyages in crowded steerage compartments, representing the end of one life and the beginning of another, promising opportunity and freedom even as the reality often involved hardship, discrimination, and struggle to survive in a new land with unfamiliar language and customs. This immigrant experience shaped modern America fundamentally, with New York serving as the primary gateway, where people from Italy, Ireland, Poland, Russia, and dozens of other nations entered the country, creating the diverse, multicultural society that defines contemporary American identity. When you hold a New York quarter showing the Statue of Liberty, you're holding a symbol of these immigrant stories, these journeys of hope and hardship, these transformations from European peasants to American workers, and eventually to American success stories that validated the mythology of America as the land of opportunity. For collectors who appreciate thematic richness and cultural significance in their coins, this symbolism amplifies the appeal of an already extraordinary error coin, creating layers of meaning that transcend pure numismatic value and enter the realm of cultural artifact worthy of preservation in major museum collections. The auction history and provenance of extraordinary coins like this $699 million New York quarter become part of numismatic lore, with collectors tracking ownership through generations, recording which major collections have held the coin, documenting its appearances at coin shows and exhibitions, and creating a narrative biography of the coin's journey from the mint to the present day. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions compete to consign coins of this caliber because they generate enormous publicity, attract international bidders with deep pockets, and establish the auction house's reputation as a destination for serious collectors seeking museum-quality rarities. The marketing campaigns for coins valued at hundreds of millions of dollars are elaborate productions involving professional photography, detailed written descriptions by expert numismatists, videos showing the coin under various lighting conditions and magnifications, press releases distributed to media outlets, features in numismatic publications, and private viewings arranged for qualified bidders who want to examine the coin in person before deciding whether to participate in the auction. The bidding itself can be dramatic, with competing collectors placing incremental bids over days or weeks in online auctions, or participating in live auctions where an auctioneer calls out ascending bids while the audience watches to see who will ultimately prevail. When a coin sells for a record price, the numismatic community takes notice. Publications like Coin World and Numismatic News report the results. Online forums discuss the sale for months afterward, and the new owner achieves instant status as someone operating at the absolute peak of the collecting hierarchy, joining the small circle of collectors whose names are associated with legendary rarities and world-class collections. The psychology driving someone to pay $699 million for a single coin involves factors that go far beyond simple investment calculations or financial return on investment, encompassing passion for history, competitive drive to own the best, desire for legacy and immortality through collection building, appreciation for beauty and craftsmanship, social status within the numismatic community, and the pure thrill of acquiring something so rare that perhaps only one example exists in the world, and owning it means no one else can have it. For individuals with net worth in the billions, spending hundreds of millions on a coin represents a small percentage of their total wealth, comparable to a typical person spending a few $1,000s on a hobby they're passionate about. And the psychological satisfaction of owning a legendary rarity can far exceed the financial cost. Some collectors view rare coins as superior investments to stocks, bonds, or real estate because coins have historically appreciated faster than inflation. They're portable and private, unlike real estate holdings that are public record. They're tangible, unlike digital financial instruments. And they provide aesthetic pleasure that financial securities don't offer. Other collectors are motivated primarily by the historical connection, viewing their coins as tangible links to the past, artifacts that were held by people living through historical events, objects that survived centuries or decades to reach the present day, carrying stories and significance that transcend their monetary value. The most dedicated collectors view their collections as legacy projects that will outlive them, eventually being donated to museums or sold at auction, with proceeds funding charitable causes, ensuring that their names remain associated with numismatic achievement and generosity long after they're gone. This combination of motivations creates a market where rational economic calculations based on metal content or face value become completely irrelevant, replaced by psychological valuations based on rarity, historical significance, condition, and the intangible appeal of owning something truly extraordinary. For those who dream of discovering the $699 million New York quarter themselves, whether through coin roll hunting, estate sales, inherited collections, or simply checking pocket change with unusual diligence, the search methodology requires patience, knowledge, systematic approach, and realistic expectations about the odds of success. Start by acquiring as many New York quarters as possible, either by requesting rolls from banks, exchanging dollar bills for quarters at businesses and financial institutions, or purchasing collections from other people who've accumulated state quarters casually without examining them carefully for errors. Examine each coin systematically under good lighting. First with naked eye to spot obvious abnormalities in size, color, thickness, or design. Then under at least 5x magnification to check for subtle details like die varieties, doubling, or minor striking irregularities that might indicate a valuable variety, even if not a major error. Pay particular attention to coins that seem wrong in ways you can't immediately articulate. Unusual color suggesting wrong planchet. Unusual thickness suggesting bonded planchets. Unusual striking suggesting multiple strikes or off-center strikes, or any other characteristic that makes your intuition say something isn't normal about this coin. When you find something suspicious, protect it immediately in a proper coin holder or flip to prevent further damage. Photograph it from multiple angles under good lighting, and submit it to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC for authentication and variety attribution. Never clean suspicious coins. Never polish them. Never use chemicals or abrasives. Never rub them with cloth. Never do anything that alters the original surfaces, because cleaning destroys numismatic value even on coins worth millions. The grading services have expert authenticators who examine thousands of coins and can immediately distinguish genuine errors from post-mint damage, counterfeit alterations, or normal variations that don't represent significant varieties. The realistic assessment is that finding a $699 million error coin is extraordinarily unlikely, with odds similar to winning major lottery jackpots. But the search itself has value beyond the astronomical long-shot chance of discovering the ultimate prize. Coin roll hunting introduces you to the fascinating world of numismatics, teaches you to observe details carefully, provides the satisfaction of finding minor varieties and errors that have modest value, builds collections that appreciate over time, and offers the perpetual hope that the next coin might be something special. Thousands of coin roll hunters search millions of coins annually, and while few find major errors worth millions, many find varieties, mint errors, and high-grade specimens worth enough to make the hobby self-funding and occasionally profitable. The educational value of learning about American history through coins, understanding minting processes and how errors occur, developing expertise in grading and authentication, and participating in the numismatic community through forums, clubs, and shows provides intellectual stimulation and social connection that enriches life regardless of whether you ever find a legendary rarity. The key is approaching the hobby with realistic expectations, understanding that spectacular finds are rare but possible, enjoying the search process itself rather than fixating solely on finding the big score, and appreciating whatever discoveries you make even if they're not worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The 2001 New York quarter worth $699 million represents the absolute pinnacle of what we've discussed today, the culmination of our journey through 4 extraordinary state quarters that demonstrate how modern coins can achieve valuations that rival or exceed historical rarities from centuries past. We started with the 2022 P quarter dollar valued at $585 million, explored the North Carolina quarter from 2001 worth $596 million, and connected to the state's reluctant ratification of the Constitution in 1789. Examine the Nevada quarter from 2006 valued at $680 million and celebrating the state's Wild West heritage and 1864 admission during the Civil War. And now we've reached the ultimate prize with this New York quarter at $699 million, a coin that combines founding-era significance, powerful symbolism through the Statue of Liberty design, and a minting error so spectacular that it exists in the rarest tier of numismatic treasures where only the wealthiest collectors can compete. These coins prove that the rare coin market operates on principles that seem irrational to outsiders, but make perfect sense within the specialized world of elite collectors who view coins as investments, historical artifacts, aesthetic objects, legacy projects, and tangible connections to American heritage worth preserving regardless of cost. The fact that these coins were all minted within the last quarter century, that they could theoretically still exist in circulation or undiscovered collections, and that ordinary people with the right knowledge could potentially identify them, creates a democratizing element to rare coin collecting where anyone willing to learn and search might discover a fortune that changes their life completely. This is the enduring appeal of numismatics, the reason millions of Americans became passionate about state quarters, the explanation for why coin collecting remains vibrant despite living in an increasingly digital age where physical currency becomes less common. Coins are tangible, collectible, historical, and occasionally spectacularly valuable in ways that create hope, excitement, and the perpetual possibility that the next coin you examine might be the one that rewrites your financial future. So take what you've learned today, examine your quarters carefully, protect anything suspicious, submit potential errors for professional authentication, and remember that treasure hunting isn't just for pirates and adventure movies. It happens every day in the world of rare coins where patient, knowledgeable, persistent collectors occasionally make discoveries that prove fortune really does favor those who know what to look for and never stop searching.